Good afternoon and welcome to Wild Moments, brought to you by explore.org. During the course of this next half an hour, we are going to look at the highlights from the Africam live cameras situated around Southern Africa. This afternoon, joining us, we have got Jamie Patterson, no less, one-time legal student at Cambridge University, one-time safari guide, and now veterinary student. Hello, Jamie.
Hi, James. Always a pleasure. Hello, everybody. I like to keep things interesting, is how I prefer to think about it.
Yes. Yeah, you like to keep things interesting and financially strained. That is fair enough. Why not? For those of you joining us for the first time, welcome. For those of you joining us for the second time, welcome. Please do send through any questions that you might have on whatever platform you happen to be watching us on. We'll do our best to get to those questions. Jamie, well, I think we'll probably get straight to it rather than discuss your studies. Let's go. We're going to go to our first clip now, and we're just going to talk over it as it goes along, and then we'll discuss it, and you can ask us any questions that you might have. I am going to ask
Marvelous.
the director, who also happens to be my wife, to play the first clip. There it is. Here we have got the back end of some elephants, which is quite fun, I suppose. And, well, what we're looking at here is a very thirsty group of elephants that are enjoying the water. A little one being very cute indeed. That is too sweet. Just to be clear, that the light shining on these animals is not in fact a light, it's infrared, so I suppose it is a light. But it's not something that they can see. I think this is quite interesting because, yet again, the kind of, one hesitates to use the term cretinous, but odd behavior is being perpetrated by what is definitely a male mammal.
You ever watched a toddler with a spoon trying to feed itself?
Yeah.
Because that's kind of what it's reminding me of.
It's very similar. I don't know if you have the same experience, but I always find that with human beings, as well as, of course, look at this idiot. With human beings as well as other male mammals, it seems to be the males that behave in this fashion. The females seem to learn faster. They don't seem to behave in these outlandishly ridiculous ways, unless it's intentional. Whereas this guy is just being, to me, a typical male mammal. His mother's having to say, "Get up, come on, stop behaving like a goon." Is that your experience as well, or do you find that it's pretty equal?
Of my godson.
Yeah. Yeah. I know I've got two nephews, and they are just like this male elephant. I have a friend with two daughters who don't behave anything like this little elephant. And as you say, biologically, this elephant is still learning to use his trunk. He should be just about there by now, I would have thought. But he's learning to use his trunk. He's trying to find his way in the world and basically learning how to be a male elephant, I guess.
Do you ever wonder when they're that age? Perhaps it was just me as a small child, but when I was little, there was an almost sort of constant narrative in my game that was going on, whatever I happened to be interested in at the time. Do you ever wonder what goes on in that little brain, not so little brain in the case of a baby elephant, exactly what it is he's thinking about, or if he's just
I absolutely do, yeah. And I think with an elephant like that, they do have such massive brains, and we know so little about what's actually going through them. They're the one mammal, I think it's the only mammal, if I'm not mistaken, that has a greater number of neurons in the brain than we do, although they're unable to do calculus as far as I'm aware.
As far as we're aware. They've also, I've just read a study recently about the number of nerves in their trunk. And we tend to think of our hands as extremely complex things. It takes us a long time to master the chord and They have the scientists have just discovered. I think the elephant's trunk is probably the most sensitive animal body part that we know of so far. There's something
Viewers.
like
Okay.
400,000 neurons in each. Uh, what are they called? Oh, it's just gone totally out of my head. Anyway, it equates to 800,000 in
Bundle.
total. Ganglion, nerve
Ganglia.
ganglion. That's the
Okay.
word I was looking for.
Wow.
Mm.
All right. Okay. So extremely innervated, in case you missed that. That's a good word to use when you're next at a dinner party. You can say, well, I just learned that an elephant's trunk is very, and then pause for effect, innervated. And everyone will be very impressed with you. Hello, Aunt Christine and Valentina. You say it would be great to have a veterinarian show with Jamie. Well, yes, I suppose it would. Whether her fellow students or professors would approve of her coming into a dissection hall armed with a live broadcast system I'm not sure. Maybe they would. They've all done Zoom over the last little while. Perhaps they wouldn't have a problem with it. Jan Pars, you say, yay, James and Jamie together. Well, yes, in the virtual space. Jamie, I think you're in Pretoria, aren't you?
Not yet. I'm still in Johannesburg. I haven't
Oh,
managed to get
right.
back to Pretoria yet. I'm doing my
Okay.
journey in gradual stages.
Right. Okay. Pretoria, by the way,
Mm.
is where the veterinary college is. Okay. I think let's move on to the next clip. That was very entertaining. I don't think it was particularly biologically significant. So let's move on to the next clip and see what we can see there. If you would be so kind, my dear. Thank you so much. There we have got a hyena. Jamie, I'm going to let you talk us through this one, being a hyena expert.
Okay, well, in that case, I shall have a go. That's a hyena's bottom. Oh, now it's a hyena's. There we go. That was, that I've always sort of considered hyenas to be one of the most intelligent animals out there. Well, I think that one chose a very opportune time to move out of the way. The elephant clearly thoroughly displeased with its presence, attempting to knock it on the head with a small branch. And of course, elephants can see in the dark. I'm not sure how well it was able to identify that was a hyena. I'm sure that it can smell it. And hyenas, even we can smell with our poorly developed sense of smell. And I think the elephant has rather taken offense. You can just see the hyena wandering off in the background there. It's interesting the reactions that elephants have to predators. They almost without fail will chase them away. He's still clutching the branch. I'm impressed. He is determined.
I'm not sure I've ever seen that before. I don't think
I
I've
don't think
seen
I've
an
ever seen an
elephant
elephant
throw
carry a
something.
branch and chase a hyena
No.
with. No, I've never. I've had elephants throw me before, or attempt to. I have never seen one throw it at a predator. Is he still clutching? Oh no, he has
No,
now
no, now
abandoned
he's
it.
given up. Now he's going to remove the camera and throw that at the hyena.
Oh, he's going to try and kick a rock around.
Yes. Well, what he's doing is he's moving the rocks away from the cat eye camera. So, I mean, that camera you can see is at eye level. And if he does that too much more, it's going to disappear. Now we've got the hyena back.
All that poor hyena wants to do is have a drink.
Yeah.
It's been marked now. It's just not. So this is
Now,
now
again,
the third time round the dam.
yeah.
We're back for a fourth effort. Okay, he's managed a couple of gulps. He or she.
And he's now taking out the stick.
Oh, I didn't see
You
that
know,
coming.
nor did I. We were discussing this last week, but it's quite something to have these candid cameras when there are no people around, and you can be
There's
sure that
absolutely no
none of
human
this behavior
influence.
is being influenced by human presence. I mean, this is This is just hilarious.
What on earth do you suppose it's doing?
Now it's licking its foot, I think, or maybe biting a rock. I can't tell.
Absolutely
Or just
bizarre.
licking a rock. Mm,
He's just licking the
delicious.
rock.
Yeah.
Little bit of elephant
Elephant
foot
back.
mush on there.
Now, apparently, this sighting went on for something like the hyena's just running off there for something like 45 minutes. Now, surely at some stage this becomes play behavior.
I was just thinking that exact thing. At
Yeah.
what point are these two not having fun?
Yeah.
Because either of them could quite easily have moved off.
Yeah. And I mean, it's not like the hyena actually poses a threat to this elephant.
No, not in the slightest. Oh, oh, now it's crossed.
Throwing
It's still
another
throwing
stick at
stuff
it.
at it.
Oh, this is
Oh, this is
absolutely
wonderful.
wonderful. Yeah, there's, just so that everyone knows, this is one of many, many little pans like this that exist at Baluli Nature Reserve where this is taking place. And there is absolutely no reason in the world why this hyena couldn't find something else to drink. Also, why it has decided that it needs to now play with the stick that's been flung at it is anyone's guess.
This is fascinating.
Absolutely amazing. And no doubt they can smell each other, and that the hyena can smell the elephant on the tree, and that the elephant will now be able to smell the hyena on the tree.
Do you think?
Oh, and again.
No.
One does wonder what this young elephant bull would do if he actually got hold of the hyena. I don't think it would be pleasant for the hyena, but it still is interesting
No.
to think, would he actually just back off or would he follow through and do some real damage?
I don't know.
That was
I'm
absolutely
not certain.
amazing.
That was so
Uh,
cool. I've never seen
So
anything
I mean,
like that.
no, I've heard of elephants throwing sticks at cars before. It's never happened
Yeah.
to me. Has it happened to you?
It's happened to me. It's happened to me once or twice. One even hit me once. I mean, very
Really?
lightly. It was not like it was not a projectile. It sort of just brushed against my leg, but it has happened to me.
And was it accurate?
Most attempts have not been. That was the only one that
Okay.
was, and I think that was just by sheer chance more than anything else.
Yeah, because I
Although,
think
I
with
mean,
this particular,
looking at that clip, that elephant wasn't far off with it.
no, he wasn't, especially with
Perhaps
the
a bit of
first
a,
attempt.
yeah.
Kirsten, can we go
I mean,
back
you
to
would
the
have been
first
sprayed
attempt?
by dust
For sure.
and water. Yeah.
Let's go. Let's just go and have a look at the first throw, because this to me is amazing. That was fairly poor,
That no, that was actually not fun. That was a. I mean,
but that was quite
okay,
impressive.
maybe, that was an impressive throw.
Yeah.
He's not going to win him a place on the South African
No.
cricket team, although at the rate we're
No.
going, possibly.
No. I think that's absolutely amazing. So elephants will do this, as we say. They will throw things at things that are causing them displeasure. But again, as with the sighting before, what I think we have here is definitely a young bull elephant on his own, testing his strength against a predator, and I suspect quite strongly it's a male hyena as well. A young male who's decided that he's going to forego foraging for a meal and actually just entertain himself here. And I do wonder a lot how much entertainment male and female mammals need and how much they seek out, and how different their seeking out of entertainment is. Because to me, there is a big difference with young males
Oh,
behaving like that,
there's
and
only a difference.
yeah, and perhaps females taking their entertainment from their social interactions, but with them being no less important, but just taken in a different way, perhaps.
And obviously, I mean, there's a
Sharon,
big difference between predators, sorry, James, between
no,
predators
you
and
carry on.
herbivores and the
Yeah.
entertainment that they gain from that. And it's much easier for us to identify with the play of carnivores because it's that
Mm.
practice hunting,
Yeah. I
or
think that we
wrestling.
are probably far too quick to just dismiss play behavior as, oh well, they're
I
learning
agree.
how to hunt and they're learning how to do this. Well, actually, they're probably just having fun, and yes, it probably does have a beneficial effect in the same way that for a kid playing soccer has a
Mm.
beneficial effect on his life, on his strength and neurology and maturity. It's absolutely fascinating. Jan, you want to know how old I think that elephant is? When somebody asks me a question like that, what I do is defer and then agree. So what I'm going to do is say to Jamie, well, Jamie, how old do you think that elephant was?
I wouldn't have put it older than his mid-teens, probably his early teens. I'm not sure, James, how you feel, if you agree or
Yeah, no,
disagree.
I agree. I agree completely. I I would have said between 12 and 15. That would have been my guess.
Yeah.
And I'm so pleased that you agree. Sharon, you say what happens in the dark stays in the dark. It does. And I mean, I do think these cameras are fantastic for that. Although I will say, I think that both the hyena and the elephant approached the camera because it does make a very slight whirring noise. It goes vzz slightly when it turns. And I do think that both of them, as part of the playing that they were doing, just came up to have a look and see what was going on there. Hello, James Richard. Such a fascinating sighting. It certainly was a wonderful, fascinating sighting. And again, quite difficult to see in the day or on a vehicle full of people. Great. That was marvelous. All right, my dear. Well, would you like to move on to the next clip? I'm talking to my wife, not to Jamie, by the way. Right. Now, here we have a collection of lions, and the one behind, watching what is I would describe as a fairly incompetent or experimental approach at some buffalo, is the mother, and the two in front, I believe, are siblings. The male is called Greedy, and the female is called Astarte, Astarte. I'm not sure how to say that. And the mother is beautifully named. She has a gorgeous name, F70, which means female number 70. Now, there'll be an element of seriousness in this, and I think were the buffalo to lie down and play dead, they'd certainly be eaten. But I don't think that this is a serious hunt. And it really does. I mean, surely that buffalo must feel something. Oh, there we go. Absolutely amazing. Now remember, this is pitch dark. So the lions probably see the buffalo relatively well, but not the other way around. The two youngsters now not taking any chances. And again, it's the young male who's initiating the behavior, and this time dragging his sister along while their mother watches, perhaps instructing quietly from the foreground there. I think that was
Cheering
fantastic.
them on.
Yeah, what's going on there?
Well, I mean, it's somebody actually just recently reminded me of a sighting that I had with a young female leopard who approached a hippo in exactly the same way that lion did and went and put her nose right up against his backside and had a really good sniff. Look, I think think slight more, there's a much larger size gap
Mm,
in that instance than there was with those lions and the buffalo. As you said,
mm,
there is an element of seriousness to it.
yeah. Yes, I think I've seen the same with young male leopards and rhino, actually stalking them just for the kind of sake of it. But I'm not really sure why it took the buffalo so long to click that there were two predators behind him. And like you say, I mean, if if they'd been older lions and they had been serious and there'd been three or four of them, I think he would have been in some trouble.
Oh, if they'd had the rest of the or a larger pride with them,
Yeah,
it would have been. And buffalo would have paid dearly for his lack
yeah.
of. Maybe with
Care.
this is going to sound very silly, but the vegetation is very thick at the moment and the grass is very
Mm,
long. And I wonder
yeah,
if it didn't sort of desensitize him to touch.
yeah.
Just a thought.
There could have also been a bit of a wind blowing, and yeah, but it does
Mm,
look like the lion touches him there. Can we have another look at
it
that?
does.
Sounds like early morning. Just hear the Franklin starting up in the background. But I mean, here he definitely touches the buffalo. I mean, he's got his paw on its backside, and the sister, who was much more circumspect, thinks, "Oh well, okay, it's quite easy then." So touch there again. Sister still being very careful when she's out. Not going to muck around. But interestingly, here, she of course will be a major hunting force at some stage, one hopes. See how he disappears. And now she's actually kind of sussing the situation more carefully. She waits to see. I think that's quite interesting. And now he's
Is
decided, okay, well, maybe it's all right. No, he's much more keen to get out of there than she is once the threat seems to be more real. That's very
he seems to
interesting.
cover double the distance that she does every
Yeah,
time.
yeah, yeah,
Buffalo so much
yeah.
as whirls around.
Much more nervous. On Christine and Valentino, you're wondering if either of us have observed prey animals, e.g., impala, playing in ways similar to the predators. Yes, I think we both have. I've certainly seen impala lambs cavorting around. They're definitely playing. They're definitely using that playing to gain strength, to learn social etiquette. Certainly in the primates, I know that social etiquette is a huge part of their play behavior as youngsters and learning where they are in the hierarchy and establishing themselves in the hierarchy. And I imagine that it happens in all animals, or certainly all mammals. I mean, I doubt it happens too much in cockroaches, for example. I don't think they engage in too much play behavior. And reptiles, probably less so. Fish, I don't know. Birds, Jamie, have you ever seen birds playing?
So that's actually a good question. I mean,
Yeah,
I definitely agree. I've seen plenty of males, and I mean, plenty of mammals, and you always see the impala butting heads. But birds,
yeah,
you see them sort of attack their reflections, but I'm not sure that that's play behavior.
yeah.
Mm,
That's very interesting because, I mean, birds are bigger brained, I think, than most reptiles, but they've obviously come from a totally different evolutionary line. So they've come from dinosaurs, and you know, our last common ancestor so many hundreds of millions of years ago that one wonders if there has been some kind of co-evolution of play behavior, or if birds develop what they need to develop socially and physically outside of that. I don't know.
yeah, I mean, there really is a fascinating evolutionary question there because, of course, you have the
Mm.
social bird species like the parrots, and their
Yes,
bonds are very, very important, and those are
yes.
learnt at some point in their early
Mm.
lives, but you don't see it
Mm.
necessarily expressed. You see it expressed as grooming, just
Yes.
play.
Maybe that's where it
Mm,
is. Maybe it's with the grooming. And I suppose from a physical point of view, they develop so much faster. I mean, a lot of young mammals develop very quickly, but a bird will fledge astonishingly fast, and maybe that's where they learn their physical stuff, actually doing it.
yeah.
I don't know.
And of course, I mean, they've got those enormous metabolic requirements. Their body temperature
Mm,
is so much higher. Flight takes so
yes.
much energy. Perhaps there's just not space for play.
Yeah.
I don't
There's not
know.
enough. Yeah. Maybe. Sharon, you say you would think the buffalo would have smelled the lions. You see, I wouldn't. I really wouldn't have
Mm.
expected that at all. And I think that, and I've had arguments with a lot of people, and maybe I'll have it now with Jamie, but I don't think I will. I don't think that lions and leopards and cheetahs are easy to smell at all for their prey. I think that's why they're so fastidiously clean. It's why they're so fastidious about cleaning themselves, because they don't want to be smelled. And yes, I think that if a lion was directly upwind of a buffalo and very close by, yeah, then I smell it. Or certainly suspect something. But no, I don't think that they pick them up easily like they pick us up, or like they pick up a hyena, which stinks, or a wild dog, which stinks. What do you think, Jamie?
No. No, I agree. I mean, also, I assume, judging by their names, that those lions are sort of relative fixtures around that waterhole. And
Yes.
it's quite
Yeah.
possible
Yeah.
that their scent lingers where where it is around, or where the
True.
buffalo
Yeah.
do pick up on it. It's there the whole time. So whether or not
Mm.
they associate it with a lion about to stick its nose up its bottom is a different story.
Yeah. That's a very good point. So it may be all around there, and they're so used to
Yeah.
it that they're just not particularly concerned. I think
But I
this
do
leads
agree.
on
I
to that
don't think
other.
they're pungent.
No,
Mm.
it leads on to that other great debate that I've had with a lot of people who say that predators hunt into the wind, and I've never seen it. I mean, I've seen it sometimes, but I consider it total chance. And there's no scientific paper that I've come across where they have definitively said that yes, lions head into the wind when they hunt. And it's certainly in a place like the Sabi Sands, where the prevailing wind is southeast, you'd expect to find every lion in the place gathered in the northwest corner of the reserve. I would imagine if that's what they did. I don't know. What do you think?
No, I agree. I have never seen a lion hunt, first of all, that's started off in one direction and continued in that direction.
Yes. Yeah.
They are forever when they're hunting, chopping and changing their approach. And
Yeah.
far more important is the lay of the land and what
Yeah.
obstacles are between them and the prey. The wind
Yeah.
doesn't turn at all.
Yeah. I think they may use the wind if they smell something, and that may give the impression that they're moving into the wind
It's a
because they
good
pick
point.
something up on the wind,
Mm.
and therefore, it makes sense for them to follow the wind. But I really don't believe that they use it. A fascinating comment here from Judy H, who says that she's seen birds play. She's seen a corridor using a jar lid to sled down a snowy roof. Isn't that amazing?
That's
That's
amazing.
so cool.
That is
I
so
don't know.
cool.
Yeah, I don't know what a corridor is, Judy H. I'll have to look it up, I'm afraid. And Sergeant Pepper, Sans' Lonely Hearts Club Band, says that he's seen bald eaglets play with sticks. Okay, great.
Oh,
I mean,
I'm going
yes,
to have to go and look this up. I'm sure there are
yeah,
things on YouTube on
yeah.
playing birds.
I mean, yes, we've seen birds fiddle with sticks, and maybe there's definitely an element of playing with them. I guess they don't play with each other in the same way, but maybe because there are fewer social birds, and maybe more social birds do. Maybe young uh, grey-crowned, at least grey-crested helmet shrikes do have a little bit of a what am I talking about? White crowned helmet, grey crowned helmet shrikes. Maybe they do have a little bit of a play. Anyway, fascinating. All right, everyone. Thank you very much for joining us for this Wild Moments brought to you by explore.org. A big thank you to Jamie for taking time out of her busy schedule of learning about the inner anatomy of various beasties, which she will hopefully heal sometime in the future. And we'll see you next week
Thank you
for
very
another
much for having
edition.
me.
It's our pleasure. It's our pleasure. We'll see you next week for another edition of Wild Moments.